Hi, welcome to another episode of Straight Lions Talk. The regular season's finally here, and today we're going to be talking about the Detroit Lions and the San Diego Chargers. And first of all, I'd like to start off by saying you can follow us on Twitter at Straight Lions Talk, STR Lions Talk. You can follow us on there. Also, you can follow us on YouTube channel, Straight Lions Talk, also spelled STR Lions Talk. You can find us there. I'd like to thank Ed, Bob, everyone who retweeted us last week. Gabe Wright of the Detroit Lions retweeted our last show, the preseason recap. He retweeted it. I'd like to thank him if he happens to watch this again. TJ Jones favorited it. I'd like to thank him. I'd like to also congratulate TJ Jones on making the Lions. He was our preseason pick to make the Lions as a dark horse player, and he did it, and I think he's going to be phenomenal. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit. But I'd like to thank all of you who did retweet, favorite, whatever source of social media you have, please send it out to any Lions fans, Packers fans, anyone you'd like to send it out to, please send it out. We want to grow. We want to expand this thing. We want new members of our tribe, and we can only do that with your help. So if you guys would please send out whatever your favorite source of social media is, like I said before, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Vine, whatever it is, please send it out. And that's the only way we're going to grow, is for you guys to help us. We want 500 members of this tribe on either Twitter and YouTube. So we can only do that with you guys' help. But today we're going to start by talking about the Detroit Lions and their upcoming game with the San Diego Chargers. Now, this game is at the Chargers. So in years past, the Lions haven't fared so well on the West Coast. They've always struggled out there. Don't know why. For a long time, they weren't a good road team because we were a bad team. But now we're a good team and a deep team, and more of a veteran team with actually a veteran leader as our head coach, not a young guy like Jim Schwartz was when he used to send us, when we used to go out there with him. So that's one of the things that worries me a little bit, is that the Lions never play well in the 4 o'clock slot, and they never play well on the West Coast. So with that said, some of the things I think are going to help us this year is, I think what's going to help us the most is that we have a good offensive line. And we've talked about it in previous shows, but as we all know, a good offensive line travels well. And that's what we need. And I think that's something they wanted to address in the offseason. That's why we drafted Michael Burton, the fullback, out of with the 5th round pick out of Chrgers. And I think that's also why we traded for Manny Ramirez and drafted Laken Tomlinson. And we put Travis Swanson in the middle. We want to bolster that offensive line so we can be more of a threat in the 3rd and 4th quarters when you have to run the football in these NFL games. Because the matchups are always so close in the NFL, because there's so much parity there, that you have to be able to run the football in key situations when other teams know you're going to run the football. You have to be able to run the football. And I think that's something the Lions recognized that they needed to do, and they addressed in the offseason, which is going to help us in the long run. Playoffs, big games, at Green Bay, at Chicago, and those big games, we don't have to rely on the pass all the time on 3rd and shorts. We can actually mix it up. Maybe we can do some play action in those certain situations when everyone's expecting the run. Maybe we're a little more of a threat when there actually is a true threat that we're going to be able to run the ball. With the addition of Amir Abdullah, Joyce Bell comes back healthy, Theo Riddick's improving, things like that. I think it's sky's the limit for the Lions in that situation. So with that said, I really, really like the addition of the offensive line. I like everything that's happened with it. I've talked about it before. Like I said in our last show, I thought it was something that the Lions were going to be a all-year progression and maybe get better throughout the year, and I think it still will get better, but they're further ahead of the pace than I thought they would be. I'd also like to mention, I meant to mention this in the beginning of the show and I didn't, I'd like to congratulate TJ Jones on making the Detroit Lions. He was our preseason pick as a dark horse sleeper to come in and make the Lions. Larry Webster was our defensive guy and just didn't show enough. Last year he showed some flashes of being able to come off the ball quick, and that really hurts us because we let George Johnson go, I think, in part besides the money, but also due to the fact we thought we had something with Larry Webster there. So that kind of actually hurts. I really expected big things from him. I thought he was going to be a dynamic pass rusher on the outside, and just didn't translate with all his skill set and his athleticism. He couldn't translate speed into power, and that hurt him in the long run. But with that said, I'd like to really congratulate TJ Jones. And if TJ, you watch this, like you watched our last video, I believe, if you're watching this, just work your butt off, stay late, catch extra balls, grind, be a grinder, grind. Don't don't waste this opportunity. The sky is the limit for you. You have all the athleticism. You're a polished receiver in a lot of ways. You can get better in some ways. I think you understand that. But in the overall scheme of things, I think you're going to fit perfectly in the Detroit Lions offense with Matthew Stafford, having Golden Tate and Megatron on the outside for a couple years. You're going to play that slot position for a few years, and maybe when Golden Tate moves on, you move out there. But take advantage of this. Work your butt off. Stay late. Come early. Just grind. Dedicate all your free time into being a great receiver, and it will pay off for you. You will be that receiver. You can see it. Good things are going to be on the horizon for you. But I'd like to congratulate you on making it. I couldn't be happier. You're going to be great in special teams for us. You're going to be great in the slot. I think you're going to come up with a lot of key catches this year, and I'd like to congratulate you on that. So with that said, back to the Chargers. We just talked about the offensive line. We believe that that's going to be a help this year, as in years past where we could only rely on the pass. And I think that's going to help because the Chargers were 5-3 at home last year, which isn't great, but they were 5-3 at home, so it's a winning record. It's a tough place to play. You know what the weather's going to be like. It's going to be sunny because that's San Diego. They were 9-7 overall last year as a team. They made the playoffs. They beat some good teams last year. Philip Rivers played a heck of a lot better than he did in years past. The type of defense they run, since offensively, that's kind of where we think the team's going to excel this year, is offensively this year, which I hope is equal parts, but I think everyone thinks it's going to be offensively. They run a 3-4 defense, so usually that doesn't predicate to running the football. It's usually a run-stopping defense for the most part. Their total ranking last year overall, they were 13th overall in defense. They allowed 24 passing touchdowns and only intercepted 7 balls. So I think there's going to be some opportunities there. Eric Weddle's probably their best defensive player. He's a little bit older. With our weapons, maybe some opportunity there to take advantage of matchups. I think we match up better than them on offense than what the players they offer on defense. I think we match up very, very well. Now, they do have some good pass rushers, but the only problem is Corey Legion was their leading sacker last year at 4.5 sacks. So they didn't have an elite pass rusher. They didn't have the Sean Merrimans that were there in the past, Phillips and those guys. Those guys are all gone. So they didn't really address anything. They had 21 fumble recoveries last year. They allowed 11 rushing TDs last year, which, I mean, it's not terrible, but I think it'll open up opportunities for us. I didn't think the Chargers did anything to make themselves better. Their first-round pick was, I'm looking right here, Melvin Gordon, their running back, and they let Ryan Matthews go. They didn't really make any key additions. They drafted Perryman out of the University of Miami with the 2nd pick. That's who I thought they drafted in the 1st round, but I was wrong. I should have known it was Melvin Gordon. But they also allowed 1,986 total rushing yards last year. That's a ton. That's a 4.5 average. So I think they're really susceptible to the run, even though they run a 3-4 defense. So I think there's going to be opportunities there. But our running game is going to look a lot different with Amir Abdullah. But the key to this is, and this is Labor Day today, is Joyce Bell going to be healthy? I mean, I know Caldwell's not going to tell us till the game time decision. I mean, we all know that. I'd be shocked if he told us Friday he's not going to play. If he told us Friday he's not going to play, there's really something to worry about. He's probably not going to play week 2. But I guess we'll find out. But if Joyce Bell can come back and give us anything on the production side of it, and we can rely on Amir Abdullah for a couple weeks and Theo Riddick, I think that's a plus for us. But I think there's going to be opportunities there. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't be able to take advantage of the San Diego Chargers defense. Now, they're going to be pumped up. It's the first home game of the season, so the fans are going to be pumped. It's going to be loud. Expectations are high. Every team thinks they can go to the Super Bowl now. The Chargers think they got a legit chance to knock off Denver, to knock off Seattle, to knock off those teams that they knocked off last year. So, I don't know. I really honestly think we're going to be able to have our way with their defense if everything holds true to what we saw in the offseason with the offensive line improve the way they are with the threat of a running game this year, which we had during the during the preseason. I really feel like we can take advantage of them running the football and controlling the pace in which we want to run our offense, and that will be key. The Patriots are good at that, and so are the Packers. They control the pace and the flow of the game through their offense most of the time, and that's just a huge plus. And I think we're going to be able to do that. But they didn't have a big sack guy. Like I said, Corey Legent was the leading sack guy with 4.5. Their biggest threat on defense is Eric Waddle. He's probably their top defensive player. 21 fumble, 11 rushing TDs. They gave up 24 passing TDs. So that's 35 TDs total on rushing and passing. So, I mean, I think the opportunities are going to be there. They didn't do anything in the offseason. No big free agent signings. They didn't do a whole bunch. So I don't think that the players they had are going to be so much better. I mean, Manti Te'o, whatever. I mean, him and T.J. Jones can slap 5 before the game and after the game. That would be about the only thing that he's going to do all game, hopefully. But on the offensive side of the ball for the Chargers, which everyone's concerned about our defense, we have Phillip Rivers, who's a stationary quarterback who I think we're going to be able to take advantage of. He's kind of Dan Marino-esque at this point in his career. He is not mobile. If we can get push up the middle and if Terrell Austin can frustrate him, now he's a veteran guy and he's a great quarterback. He's not going to be confused on the blitzes we bring. So I think, like I said in the last video with their defense, we're going to have to play as a whole unit. Guys are going to have to know their job and know it well. Really study. Really to put the time in to know your responsibility and your assignment in that particular defensive call and understand the scheme and the things we're trying to do to confuse Phillip Rivers so we can hide those things. And really, I think we can push him off his spot. Now, if their offensive line, which wasn't great last year, they gave up some sacks. He was sacked 37 times, which is 7th in the NFL. No, it wasn't. Phillip Rivers was the 7th-ranked quarterback last year in the NFL for touchdowns with 35. But he's a great quarterback, and he gets rid of the ball quick, and he recognizes where to throw the ball. I'm not saying that, but I don't think that 2-year lull he had was a fluke in any way. I think he was confused, and if that offensive line can't protect him and we can find ways to bring pressure to keep him moving, if he's not setting his feet and throwing the ball, he's not a good quarterback. He's like anybody else, like we talked about. If you get pressure on them, they're not good quarterbacks. Now, other quarterbacks handle it in better ways, and he is not mobile at all. So we need to get him off his mark. He's very good. Quick release, gets the ball out of his hand quick. He's going to play a lot of shotgun with him. He's not going to drop back a ton. So we need to come up with ways to any deep routes and any of the long routes, we have to get pressure on him. We cannot allow him to set his feet because he'll beat us if he can set his feet. He will. And I think we all know that. I think that's all something we're all worried about. One of the pluses, though, is Antonio Gates' favorite target's not there. So basically all we have to worry about is Keenan Allen, which he didn't have a great year last year. I think Darius Slay can lock him down. And I think we'll be able to at least double-team him. And now all I have to do is worry about Ladarius Green, who didn't have a great preseason. I think he was a little bit disappointing for the Chargers and what they expected of him coming into this season and in future seasons as Gates is getting older. But Gates is out for 4 games, which only helps the Lions because he's a threat up the middle. And he's just a dagger sometimes on those long third downs, getting open over the middle. Done his whole career. Good around the red zone, of course. We all know that from fantasy. But their top rusher last year was Brandon Oliver. Now, like I said before, they drafted Melvin Gordon out of the University of Wisconsin, who was someone that the Lions actually targeted, and there was talk that we might draft him. And I'm glad we didn't because he's struggling now. And now is he struggling because San Diego's offensive line is bad, or is he struggling because what we've heard, and even Phillip Rivers said in an interview, that Melvin Gordon was struggling to pick up the offense in the pros. So that can only help us. Now, Brandon Oliver is a shifty, Darren Sproles type back, and he had a very good season last year. But I think the Lions can corral him and just contain him enough, both running backs, to have success. I just don't think their offensive line is better than our defensive line and our defense as a whole. If we play as a unit and know our assignments, I think we're the better defense. Now, that's with a healthy DeAndre Levy. That's with a Tulloch. That's with a Tier Whitehead. That's with those guys, and a whole rotation. Is Nada going to play? Is Jason Jones going to play? Those are key elements for us to have success. Cujo made the team because we put Alex Chrgers on IR today. So that's another plus. Cujo got a lot of pressure this offseason. I was really sad when he got cut, but, you know, there's always that guy you wish you could keep, and you got to keep certain guys in certain situations, and the Lions usually only carry 4 defensive tackles. But with us cutting Kellen Moore, I thought that we'd keep him. But anyway, he's still back on the team. I think that's only a plus for us in the rotation of our defense, which is going to help us early on when guys are still kind of get their wind a little bit because they haven't played a full game, things like that. But I just don't think our defensive line is better, or excuse me, worse than their offensive line. I think that's a check mark for us in the plus category of this, and I think it's a check mark for us against their defense, which is going to bring pressure because it's the Indianapolis coach's brother, Pagano. He's going to bring pressure. He is. So can the Lions recognize, can Matthew Stafford recognize that pressure and take advantage of the opportunities where the pressure's not? And I think he will. So I give a check mark and the positive for the Lions on offense, because I feel our offense is better. I feel our defense is better as a whole than their offense as a whole, because receiver-wise, they really don't have anybody. Yeah, like I said, it's just Keenan Allen. Eddie Royal's gone now. Antonio Gates is gone. I think they still have Malcolm Floyd. I can't even think of any other receivers they have. Ladarius Green. I'm not really, unless there's that one guy that typically kills the Lions in years past. I just think that our defense as a whole, with Rasheed Mathis back, Nevin Lawson there, our 2 safeties, Quinn and the Hedabone there, and our linebackers and our defensive front as a unit playing well is better than their offense. Now, one of the selections that the San Diego Chargers made on defense was Darius Philon, the defensive tackle from Arkansas. And the only reason I bring this guy up, you're like, who cares? The only reason I bring this guy up is in our draft show, we talked about him being a late-round pick, and I really liked him. I thought he's kind of like the Cujo role, extremely quick off the ball, undersized, but extremely quick off the ball, and plays well in with leverage. And he was someone I thought the Lions could take a shot on, knowing they needed defensive tackle. They took Gabe Wright, which was someone we projected them to take in that round. So just keep an eye on him if he even plays, but just someone to keep an eye on. I'm going to keep an eye on just for the fact that we liked him as a Lion, and we'd like to see if what we saw was right at this level. There was concerns he might not be able to play at this level due to his size, but I'm just going to keep an eye on him. Just a note I wanted to put in there for you guys. Eddie Royal, he's gone. Keenan Allen, like I said. Green's the #1 tight end target. The only big free agent they signed was King Dunlop. They signed Jacoby Jones. Now, that's another threat. Now, Jacoby Jones is secretly good sometimes. He's that guy you kind of forget about. He's faster than he looks. He catches the ball a little bit better than you think. And he's that fantasy guy when you're playing against him that kills you. So we just don't want Jacoby Jones. If Jacoby Jones has 120 yards and a couple touchdowns, that's not a good day for the Lions. So we want to contain Jacoby Jones. We don't want to focus too much on just Keenan Allen, but Jacoby Jones is kind of a sneaky threat for the San Diego Chargers. It might be someone that Philip Rivers is looking to. Maybe Nevin Lawson will be up on him a lot. So, Nevin's going to have to really watch himself there, because there's certain situations that he can be dangerous. He's dangerous in special teams. And, the couple times I wanted the Lions to get him when we were hurting for receivers really bad. But I would just be careful with Jacoby Jones. He could be a sneaky player. And that's basically the only threats I see for San Diego. The only negative for us is we don't play well on the West Coast, and are we going to be able to run the football consistently on the road in big key situations this season, which is something we didn't do well at all last year. We didn't run the football well at all. Now, we'll be able to know right off the bat if we're going to be able to do that. And I think if we are able to do that, we're going to do it a lot. But as a whole, I really think the Lions are going to win this game. And I think it's a game they need to go out and win for the direction and the goals they have as a team this year. I know they want to get back to the playoffs, and it'd be great if they could get a double-digit winning season. I don't know if you guys knew this, but the Lions have never won double-digit games in back-to-back seasons in their team history, which is sad. That is a sad, sad stat. And maybe they can do it this year. I hope they can. We think here they're going to be a 10-6 football team. I think they could be 11-5, but we're projecting 10-6 right now. That beginning of that schedule is tough. So if we could go 2-2, that would be a win. If we go 3-2, that's a bonus. So if we could go 3-1, that would be a bonus. If we could go 2-2, that's a home run still. But I just really think that the Lions are going to win this game. I think it's going to be somewhere 27-34 to 17-24. So we're going to go with 34-17 Lions. I think they're going to win it. I think we're going to get up on them early, and then I think Phillip Rivers will figure out what we're trying to do against him in the second half, and they'll make a little threat to us. But I think with our running game and the way our offensive line has played this year, I think that's going to be the difference. I hope it is. If Joyke Bell's there, that only adds positive to the situation of us being able to run the football in the second half, because he'll be the hammer. And that's great. And it'll be nice to split carries between him and Abdullah and Riddick, where Bell's healthy in the third and fourth quarter, where he can pound out those tough yards and those tough goal line situations when we need him. But with that said, that's the end of this show. We're going to have one after the game, which the after the game show will also be the prelude to the next week's game, So that's going to be it here. We're looking for the Lions for a win for the Lions. 34-17 is what we predict. Lions win 34-17 against the San Diego Chargers. Okay, see you next time.